Love podcasts, hate nonsense. The PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
When did you start the hate nonsense thing? How long have you hated nonsense for?
Day one.
Day one.
It's been a day one thing for me, and it was primarily self-interest as a child, but now it's more of a moral posture.
Okay, fine.
You're
not going to pull the ladder up on all the kids.
No. I don't believe in rug pulls. Yeah. It was actually before we'd even released an episode, because we did a promo. Yeah, wow. cut a promo that was like, love podcasts, hate bastards, and it had various iterations. Hate nonsense was one of them, and it stuck.
I'm glad it wasn't bastards.
It is, yeah.
In this climate, especially.
I know.
The great thing about hating nonsense is it's across the political spectrum.
Exactly, we don't discriminate.
The left and right kind of hate nonsense as much as each other, don't you think?
But it's also Irish inclusive, because the Protestants and the Catholic Church, obviously.
Right, yes. Yeah. That makes sense, yeah. It's true, everyone can get behind a hatred of nonsense.
Our only prejudice is against sex offenders.
Right, yes. Yeah, well, it gets a bit more spurious when you say that, because people...
Does it?
Yeah.
Go on.
Everyone's got a story.
Yeah, I guess they do. Horatio Gould's here.
Hello.
Yeah. Ava Santina also here.
Hello.
In receipt of a voucher.
Yes. So a couple of weeks ago, Sean and I went and got... Did I buy it or did you buy it? I can't remember. Whatever. We bought a Snickers.
Brilliant.
We had a Snickers each.
Great chocolate bar.
We opened...
Old school.
A Snickers duo, you're right.
It's like smoking a pipe. Who eats Snickers? Are you a Snickers person?
Yeah, at that time of the afternoon I can be. Yeah,
right.
It's protein.
When the mood takes me.
Yeah, it's protein.
It's nice.
Halfway, so I had the first bar, no complaints.
Right.
It was a duo, I should have specified that. So then I got to the second one and it was very smooth. Right. Very smooth, no vein on it. Mm-hmm. So we then investigated online, and there was a Daily Mail article that warned consumers of Snickers that Mars had taken away the X-rated dick veins.
Right, so it is a phallic thing.
Yeah,
right.
And so we then complained to Mars to say...
Saying this is the only fun I have.
Yeah.
It's the throbbing Snickers I get on an afternoon.
Yeah.
You cannot take this away from me.
I need something to grip onto.
Yeah. And... and they've sent us a £2 voucher, a consumer care voucher, that you can redeem anywhere apart from Aldi and Lidl.
Well, they're trying to buy you off. So that you'll stop.
She's gone public.
It's a cease and desist saying.
Well, do you know something?
They know they're on the ropes. A whole bunch of women, and they're all out there.
I need to
bring back the vein.
I need to buy your silence, and I've judged your price to be £2.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheap.
How many Snickers duos is that?
Well, I guess it's just a one. They're quite expensive.
£1.50.
I bought 3 once, and I didn't get any change out of 5. So that was for the team.
That's
it wasn't just me. I wasn't just huffing 6.
Sorry.
When I eat a Snickers duo, I prefer it to come in 3 duo. What is it? Sex tuplet?
I don't know.
Threesome.
It worries me. I feel like it's sort of the Americanization of our products. It's sort of importing like foreskin culture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're a vassal state.
And that concerns me.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, that is true. Have you guys talked about the foreskin debate? Because people have like strong opinions on it.
They do.
They?
Yeah. Have you seen that group
I'm very
of men?
glad, hug a hoodie. That's sort of my opinion on the whole thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen the sort of men's mutilation group?
Yeah, with the kind of who are trying to sort of, I don't know, piggyback on FGM.
Yeah.
As if it's a similar.
Well, I guess.
How can I make this about me?
It is MGM, isn't it?
Technically,
I suppose.
but yeah.
But you see, okay, so there's a guy in America who makes these. You can bring back your foreskin, but it's only aesthetic. Obviously, it doesn't,
BYOF.
Yeah, and you attach a sort of like kind of bell situation to the end of your bell, and then it attaches to the bed frame, so it stretches it out at night.
To the bed frame.
Well, yeah, because he trialled a few different.
You went like this. You mean like Okay, so it's not over the shoulder.
Yes, it is.
No, because it's not. I don't think it is.
I watched the entire video.
No, because no one needs their foreskin that stretched. That is completely absurd.
It's not. It's attention. It's
I've misunderstood.
Like a flying fox.
No, I must have misunderstood because that is not what's happening.
There's a wire.
No. It's not there, Ava. It's not there. It's not there unless his legs are up like this. Unless he's like sleeping up like with his legs sort of walking his cock into his mouth. I'm sorry.
I'll show you.
Show me it because I do not believe that for a second. And this is the problem with the press. It's the sensationalisation of media.
This is the problem with the press.
It's disinformation.
Do you know, I've looked up foreskin extender so many times, it knows what I... it's all the links are in purple.
Yeah, there's no way it's over the shoulder to stretch out your foreskin.
No, listen, it comes...
Right.
It's a wire that attaches to the bed frame here.
Yeah.
So it comes straight down. So
the wire comes down.
Yeah, the wire.
Fine, sorry. I realised I misunderstood it. I thought he was stretching the foreskin on a sort of hook there. So no, that was my bad.
Well, like a fisheye.
I knew I'd got it wrong because that surely isn't the case. The wire makes sense. Sorry, I apologise.
There's apology accepted. I think there was there's a guy in Mexico. I watched a Channel 5 documentary about him who claimed to have the world's largest penis.
Right. There's quite a lot of people who have claimed this.
Yeah. And he wasn't born with it. He stretched it with weights.
Right. Has he won a national competition before he was claiming this sort of international prize?
He was contesting the Guinness Book of World Records. he like filed an appeal because he was like, no, it's me. Yeah. It was all scar tissue.
Right, and is that sort of, you can't do that? That's
I guess that's cheating.
Yeah, that's cheating.
Yeah.
That's doping.
Cock doping.
There is a guy who injected his balls with a lot of Botox. Oh no, it's like lip filler. But
to get rid of the wrinkles.
No, he just wanted...
Sorry.
I think they're like 22 inches in circumference.
Excuse me?
I think they're like 22 inches in circumference.
That's big.
I believe your balls can get crazy big, but it's not really. I don't know. It's not as much of a.
But he can't do anything with it now.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people. It's like documentaries that they have to have like a wheelbarrow they're carrying around their balls.
Yeah.
That was South Park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I had.
You can have an animated documentary.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Well, Keir Starmer keeps calling Adolescence a documentary. He's
done
that for a second time now. I will die on this hill.
Did he accidentally say documentary?
No, he said it twice.
No,
right.
He did, and I'm glad.
Has he sat down and watched it, or has he been given one of those? What's those things with a précis?
Yeah.
Apparently, he sat down with his teenage children and watched it.
Right.
Because his teenage children are obviously like,
You're very into knife crime.
Yes. They live in Sadiq Khan's London.
Yeah, of course.
How can you not be? Yeah, all the kids are doing it.
And then the other one's
funny they called it
injecting his balls.
Adolescence because it's like the film Boyhood that's trying to claim the kind of universal experience of growing up.
Mm.
The name Adolescence was sort of implying, well, so it's like growing up, isn't it?
It is.
That's all of our experiences of being an adolescent.
Mine too. Yeah, mine too. Mine was exactly like that. Stephen Graham kept walking in and out of frame. Fantastically timed. It all felt like one shot.
Yeah.
Someone asked him about it in the House of Commons, and he goes, "I watched it. It was a fantastic." And he goes, "Documentary or drama." And so,
or comedy. If you have a sick sense of humour,
So he did that once, and I said he hasn't watched it. He doesn't know.
No, yeah.
Our colleague Ed Campbell, who usually sits where you're sat.
Yes.
He said, "You're being a dickhead. That's too harsh."
Right.
He said it again, hasn't he?
So Ed's a potty mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we knew that already. Potty Campbell, they called him. This is silly.
I think a lot of broadcasters had a bit of a meltdown yesterday, didn't they?
I want to answer. I want to answer that question in a second.
Well, we can answer that one now if you like.
Do you want to?
Go on.
Because there was some confusion yesterday, wasn't there?
Though. Oh yeah, I went to a dinner and a number of journalists were really shocked to learn that he is not Alistair Campbell's son.
Well, you say that. So Campbell, I'm actually from the Campbell clan way back when, and the biggest bastards of all Scottish clans. Basically, there's like pubs in Scotland where you're not allowed to go into because basically, I think historically the Campbells turned on the McDonald's, and I think that was it. Actually.
Yeah,
there's the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones is based on, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they massacred them all at a hotel.
Yeah, real bastards, the worst clan to come from, but we are all related.
It was the same.
I think Sol Campbell. There's probably something else going on there. I don't know if it was from the same Scottish clan.
Is it like an
from
Iqbal
the
Muhammad
1600s? But
What'd you say?
is it like an Iqbal Muhammad thing? Do you know that Iqbal Muhammad stood up in the House of Commons a few weeks ago to he wanted to keep cousin dating legal.
that's a tough. I was like, fair play. I would not want to be the figurehead of that movement.
Someone
it's
has
like
to
being
do
the
it.
figurehead of like stop shaming men with small dicks. Like, that is,
So brave.
yeah,
So brave.
we should be able to shag our cousin. I'm not, but we should be able to. I'm definitely not into my cousin, but we should. It should be legal.
Yeah. Prompting journalists across the country to ask, how hot is Iqbal Muhammad's cousin?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll do some PMQs?
We probably should, shouldn't
Yeah?
we?
Will we do
I
a bit
guess
of
we could do
BMQs?
2 edits of this as well, couldn't we?
We could. Should we have a clip?
Go on then.
Roll the clip.
Mr. Speaker, the only mess is the one that he made with his budget. They had an emergency budget last week that fixed nothing. He says he's bringing stability. All we see is fragility. During the election, the Prime Minister also promised that he would not increase taxes on working people. But even the OBR says that the jobs tax will be passed on to workers. On average, families will be £3,500 poorer. Why should anyone trust him again?
Well, her fantasy figure is about as much use as Liz Truss's economic planning. And she turns up every week to carp from the sidelines about the decisions we made at the budget. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, she held a press conference and she couldn't say whether she would reverse the decisions that we made at the budget.
Both flanking both of them. And she's got like 2 white guys next to her, and he's got the 2 girls. It's great.
The 2 girls.
Yeah, the 2 girls. Rachel Reeves and Angela Rayner. Yeah.
He's got the 2 girls.
That is the Deputy Prime Minister, Horatio,
Rachel Reeves,
and the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Please.
Go boss slow.
Yeah, as we cut benefits. Ava.
Slow benefits.
That's good. Yeah, slay benefits. Yeah. Ava, the 2 competing economic visions of the Labour Party and the Tory Party on display in Prime Minister's questions today. Kemi Baden not wanting to talk about jobs tax, Keir Starmer wanting to remind everyone about the economic inheritance from the Conservative Party. What did you make of the exchange today?
Well, I couldn't really hear it. I did ask if it could be turned up, but... So Kemi Badenoch, and we thought she was going to do this last week, she went on about the national insurance hike that's going to come into effect this Sunday, and also the new minimum wage, national minimum wage, which is going to raise or be raised as of, is it tomorrow or is it Sunday as well? Anyway, £1,400 extra for people who are on the national living wage every year. That is an extreme cost to businesses, apparently, who can't afford to pay their workers a fair wage. Later, actually, in PMQs, you'll see another Conservative MP who complains that there's a chocolate shop in his constituency that sacked workers because of the uplift in the national minimum wage. I thought that was quite nice.
What, have they been sacked? Or?
Well, yeah, I thought that was quite nice.
Yeah.
Because
Great.
you've got this wonderful welfare system now to fall back on.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work out for you, soon you'll have assisted dying.
Yeah.
At least it'll be easier to kill yourself in Keir Starmer's Britain. Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's the thing about the parameters of that assisted dying bill, because it is, you have to be terminal in the next year. But what if you could get a doctor to sign off or prove that you only had the will to live for 1 more year?
Right.
Would that count?
So you can't emotionally assist die.
I'm not sure. I don't know if the bill covers that.
I mean, it appears they keep relaxing the rules around it, so it wouldn't surprise me if we got to a point where I was like,
slippery slope.
Yeah, come all, welcome.
Yeah.
Horatio.
Yes.
What do you watch much of PMQs?
No, not anymore. There was a very brief, boring period in my life where maybe I would, but that period is over.
It's a glowing endorsement of the show. Brilliant. No, I find this too boring to engage with.
No, sometimes.
What made you stop?
This PMQs, it's not very exciting what's going on because it feels similar to sort of 2011 coalition-y times of like the difference is now becoming quite minimal between the parties. You know, Corbyn and Johnson, there was at least
fireworks.
There was at least
box office.
a difference.
Yeah.
But he's doing Tories more than the Tories are, so it's put the Tories in quite a tough position where it's like, well, to play the straight man to this, do I now have to, endorse paying more for welfare? It just feels like it's all. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of like tension in the same way.
I do think that's an important point, right? That as the Tories faced pressure from Reform on their right flank, they have felt the need so far to politically realign themselves to deal with that threat.
That was their move, right?
And they have paid less attention, for example, to the Lib Dems, who actually have done like a serious amount of electoral harm to them. And as a result of that, they vacated the sort of, I don't know if you could say centre-right, but certainly the right of British politics, sort of moderate right of British politics. And as a result of that, they left this huge open terrain for the Labour Party, which I think you don't have to be a sort of learned observer of the Labour Party to see that Keir Starmer has moved the party to the right. He has this huge political terrain that he can occupy and sweep up a lot of the sort of the votes that are on offer there, because the threat from the left of the Greens is
minimal. Yeah,
not that dangerous. And it's really a sort of contest between them and the Lib Dems in the centre, right?
I don't know. I did ask a Green group yesterday if I could come and cover them and for their local election strategy, and they didn't reply to me. So presumably they're all having a vote on that before they come back to me.
I like it. I like airing personal grievances on the podcast.
Yes.
Oh, I never do it.
Never.
It's true, but they just keep the Tories. It's like a drinking competition with how right you can go. Tories do a shot, and it's just round for round. Let's keep going.
Well, this is why they didn't do a lot of press on Spring Statement Day, because their line was that Labour is not harsh enough on welfare claimants, and
it's a tough one now.
It is a tough one, but it's sort of their entire strategy of dealing with Labour has sort of been blown, mainly for the reasons that you've just laid out, which is that they were trying to coin Starmer the sort of socialist Labour Prime Minister leader.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to see him as socialist.
Yeah.
If you pay any attention to what's going on.
To what he's doing.
Yeah. And so they're kind of like, they're losing ground. So on a day when actually they've got like a Spring Statement that was so poorly received by most of the country, the polling on it was absolutely appalling. The Conservatives have got nothing to say back. What are you going to do? Go on the media round and say it should have been harsher?
Yeah.
Who wants that?
And where's the opposition coming from properly then?
Well, Reform, I suppose, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah.
I think in the country at large, it's Reform.
Yeah.
And it's really just on the rape gangs thing, because it seems to sort of be Rupert Lowe pro-rape gangs inquiry. Everyone else...
Very important final word there. Sorry. So there was a slight pause that you made that really threw me for a loop.
Yeah. No, it's an
I've not been watching enough PMQs, Christ.
No, it's been box office recently, actually, Horatio, to be honest with you. Some really controversial stuff coming out. Yeah, he raised like £500,000, didn't he, for that?
Rupert Lowe?
Yeah. More than, I think.
We love an inquiry here, though. My God, we fucking love an inquiry, and nothing more. I don't even like more than an inquiry is the inquiry of how the inquiry was handled.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what came across in Adolescence was quite interesting. Was I guess procedure. There's a huge amount about like British procedure, like these awful things happened, and how I don't know. I guess it was like broadly a broken Britain sort of thing, but. There is so much procedure, I feel, that we all live with in our daily lives. And you saw it so much in the way the police, the schools, and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And it was funny seeing, something as, I don't know, raw as what happened in Adolescence going through that procedure. I don't even know if I have an opinion on it, but it was
the one thing that I found rather confusing was why the police officer was able to interview or to chase down that 17-year-old or speak to him alone. That didn't make sense to me.
Well, that was the only time procedure broke out, right? Yeah. That was the only time anyone got anything done.
Was he 14 or something?
It was like he chased a young boy across a busy road and like slammed him against the wall and screamed in his face, and he was like, "I've solved the case. Yeah, found the murder weapon, guys. Actually, maybe the administrative state is."
Yeah, I don't know how much more I can talk about it. I feel like it's almost like sycophants. It's just so. Yesterday,
porny.
Yeah, but it was like yesterday, the broadcast round on broadcast, several commentators just going mad that Kemi Badenoch hadn't watched Adolescence and were like, she clearly doesn't care about the country, and it was like, Jesus Christ, like this is just it's so wet.
We're increasingly governed by sort of TV commissioners and Esther Ransom. Whether it's assisted dying, the post office, the post office scandal has been in the public domain. We spoke about it at the time. For like 13 years, Private Eye have been covering it, and I think Computers Weekly as well. It's been out there. Yeah. And then ITV make a TV drama about it, and all of a sudden it's like, compensation now, let's get this show on the road. Brilliant. Unfortunately, that is the way mass media works. You heighten public interest in something, political pressure builds, and so they have to do something. But the fact that Keir Starmer is kind of like, well, Esther Ranson, assisted dying, very good. We will help you to kill yourself. And also, every single child in the country must attend the Adolescence hub in their local town hall. And if they failure to register attendance on at least 2 occasions, their parents will be subject to a fine and re-education programs to discuss the importance of watching the program.
But it's sort of like when a lazy teacher wheels in a TV to teach you a lesson, right? That's kind of what Starmer's doing to the whole country. Watch this, bloody don't stab each other.
Yeah.
It says here, watch this, brilliant. But it also feels like, because he's such a dull man who I don't think watches TV.
Yeah.
I think this is the first bit of TV he's watched in 10 years, so he just can't believe it.
This is incredible.
He's just never been a
one shot drone shot.
Oh my god!
So that the camera operator must have passed the drone out of the window to somebody else. It's extraordinary. What's his wife's name?
What is
wife? It's
wife.
extraordinary. You have to watch
Victoria?
it. Come here now, wife. No, I wanted to say her name, but I can't remember what it was.
Victoria?
Wife Starmer.
Victoria. He calls his family Wife Starmer, Boy Starmer, and Girl Starmer.
And they all live in a toolbox.
Yeah. No, it's bad. I feel like they should have more ideas.
Do you think that Keir Starmer can fix things around the house? He talks a lot about being son of a toolmaker. Do you think that Keir's the one you go to? When Wife Starmer something breaks, do you think that he?
I think he does a fine job. Nothing spectacular. Nothing,
Ava, all you have to look at is the rising living standards in the country. You can see he's fixing the mess that the Tories have left behind.
Oh,
and
you fucked up that line a bit there, didn't you?
Yeah. I mumbled it out. It didn't quite make sense. But if you asked him to fix the cabinet...
It sort of lost me now. I can't really play along with the bit.
The audience is turning.
Misandrist. This is what I see, this brutal misandrist.
I'm glad you've noticed it. I had a suspicion
I can't believe you
myself.
managed to sit in this chair every week doing this level of misandry.
It's actually Ed who's usually more difficult, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
How
are your comments, by the way? Because you've got some real whingers in the comments, my God.
Oh, yeah, they can't stand
Christ.
me. None of them.
I do. Honestly, seeing that you guys are doing... It's like, what do you guys want? You guys are doing... There's nothing left of the left, right? It's been whittled down to a nub. You guys are keeping a pretty fucking dignified fight, considering what's going on.
Crumbs.
Holding on for dear life. And then the comments are just... It's like, why do you think we're fucked? It's because of you losers.
Do you know something?
I'm sorry, these fucking whinges. Really, it's like, why do you think we're in this mess? Because you're so annoying.
They were moaning and moaning about how we don't talk enough about men's mental health. And so yesterday I did a record.
It's all anyone talks about.
I know.
Fuck me. Christ. It's all we ever fucking talk about.
You had Tom Osher.
So I bring on the epitome of men's mental health. I bring on the epitome.
I'm glad you shattered that glass ceiling as well.
Yeah.
Of what?
Talking about men's mental health publicly. It was brave.
Well, the last time I did it,
there was some fallout.
It didn't go well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deeply misandrous.
How was it with Tom?
Anyway, he's the sort of the epitome of men's mental health in that he's a boxer. He's sort of a very big guy, the sort of guy who
fight at the weekend.
He's too big for all of his clothes all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Maybe that's part of the problem.
Too big for this chair, and that sort of thing. And you think, I bring you a man who's talking about his mental health issues, and all of the comments are this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's what do you need? What do you want?
I don't know what they need.
And I don't know why they keep watching it, because every single week they say that I'm the most insufferable thing that they've ever seen.
Now I'm sitting across from you, I understand. But,
but they keep watching it.
Do you think that we'll get to a point where we sort of repeatedly traduce the audience whilst they're watching the show, that they might just... You said we're sort of the crumbs that are left.
At the moment,
there might be no crumbs.
Yeah.
If we continue to be rude about the people that watch the program.
No, but it's the vice versa that's the problem. It's not everyone who watches. It's just a couple of comments. It's what do you... This is all we've got left, lads. Let's try and give it some lift, We
could do a cut down out of this.
Exactly.
Horatio's pep talk to the audience.
It's nearly as good as when Jonathan Gullis said that he was like, if you're a young person and not watching PoliticsJOE, what are you doing? And I was like, of all people, to say that.
Keir Starmer, you have to watch PoliticsJOE. It should be shown in schools around the country.
Fantastic documentary.
That'll probably end you guys, actually.
Yeah, that would be an endorsement we don't want.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Gove endorsed us once.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he said we were his favourite website.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very boomer of him.
I think I'm seeing him later.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
Oh, yeah.
Raise it. Ask him if it's still his favourite website. But that didn't tank us. So maybe, I don't know. I don't think Starmer's endorsement would do well for us. I think your point about him being a supply teacher is actually quite an important one.
Yeah.
Because I think he embodies sort of banal authority figure that you don't like. And Hunter S. Thompson, when he was trying to do one of his sort of gonzo political campaigns, he talked about mobilize. He wanted to unite the freak vote and the fuck the bosses vote, and he believed that if you could bring those two things together, it would unleash like a political revolution. Right. Now, parking that idea to the side for a moment.
Was it Nixon?
No, he kind of he ran. Yeah, he ran for sheriff in a sort of was it Montana town? Right. Was it Boulder? Boulder, Colorado, and then he was thinking about doing like a national political campaign. Yeah. But I regardless of that, I think the sort of fuck the bosses vote is what Starmer is going to fall foul of, and I think it's what Nigel Farage is going to try and capitalise on, which is essentially like everyone versus the professional managerial class, HR officials, like school head teachers, the person that gave you a detention, whoever, sort of like a rejection of authority, consensus and orthodoxy. And I think that is what he and the Labour Party is going to fall foul of, and I don't think they have the political nous to navigate their way out of it.
Yeah.
Someone's going on the media show later.
I've been rehearsing my talking points. 4 p.m. Radio 4. This is probably going to go out after that anyway. So.
Well, it was interesting with Starmer because straight out the gate, least popular prime minister, and it was also the kind of a deregulated internet meant that the hatred I saw for Starmer out the gate was kind of like I'd never seen anything quite like it. Even on my videos, if we did do a stupid clip where you mentioned Starmer is the worst PM this country's ever had. He's been in office for 2 weeks. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of, like, out the gate, I've never seen such an unpopular prime minister. But the awkwardness is he's got 4 years. You know,
and a massive majority.
It feels like the country's ready for election, but he's got a huge majority in 4 years.
Yeah.
So I do think the right move for Starmer, though, is just to have a longer-term plan, which maybe he does, and just try and see if he can have some fruits from it. Which I think it was probably what he's doing, because he can't, if he just needs to stick to to some sort of plan.
Do you think he has one?
I think
so.
Do you
think he knows the direction?
A long-term plan?
Yeah.
Well, I think it changed so dramatically from
But it's not to
July
appease
to
the
August.
public, right? It's not like he's not like it doesn't feel very focus groupy in the saying that because no one likes it.
I think that they're so election pilled.
Right.
And I think as long as they've got Morgan McSweeney still in there as chief of staff, who's all he's done for the last 10 years is work out a way to root out the left and to get Starmer into office. And I wonder if he's not able to sort of relax into the machinery of government because he's still thinking on an election footing all the time.
Right.
Because every policy that they've put out seems to appeal to a sort of the voter that week might be turning against Labour. Like everything they go after. So like the sort of the PIP payments, they were going after the people who might vote reform because they're angry about welfare spiralling out of control. The week before that, they were on this big immigration hike, right? They were putting out all this material about how many people they've deported since they took office. That's again going after the reform vote. Like they're thinking like a campaign.
Oh, it's like it's reactive rather than proactive.
Yes.
It's like not here is our programme for government and this is the way that we want to change the country for the better. It's we are trying to put out fires from our political opponents that are attacking us.
Yeah. I mean, you think about even like the memes that they were putting out the other day of Keir Starmer. What was it, Sean? What was it they said? You know, the one with...
Meme correspondent.
The vibe I bring to the function, and it was a picture of Keir Starmer, and it... Oh, God. What did they say about him? It was so awful. They did one about Nigel Farage. It was just about selling the NHS.
You sound like you're going to be sick.
I think I am. I really drank so much last night, and I think I was saying I still sent texts. I was sending texts at 4:00 this morning.
Right, powerful.
I got up at 6.
Right,
fucking hell, Ava.
Does someone else want to talk?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Why don't we take a brief pause?
It.
Oh, okay. The vibe I bring to the function. Bringing down NHS waiting lists for 5 months in a row, ending 18 months of junior doctors' strikes, cutting bureaucracy so more money goes directly to the front line, fixing the front door to the NHS and working to end the 8 a.m. scramble.
Not the funniest meme I've ever seen in my life.
So leaving the NHS should be free at the point of use.
Right.
They're trying to do like a bit of a Miliband thing here, aren't they? He's got a sort of cringy smile, thumbs up type. Is he wearing varifocal lenses?
But he looks like a handsome man who's been inflated with a bike pump. That's sort of what I think about stuff. Because he does have all the trappings of a handsome man, but he's just
good hair.
Yeah, but he's also not. He's his weight is all over at the same. Lots of people have unfortunate. It goes in different places. Neck, you know.
It's even. Yeah,
it's
ankles,
even. It's just like he's been. You know.
See, I worry when
I've always thought that.
Like when you look at that strategy.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had like if they're doing that for Nigel Farage and like the vibe they bring to the function, it's all the selling NHS things. Like imagine if Starmer actually had to be the head of the country in the face of actual fascism. Like, do you think that the Labour digital team would have been putting out like the vibe I bring to the function and it's like Hitler? And they've put in bubbles like hyperinflation and things like that.
I don't know.
Could you? Yeah. Would you? I think the sort of Labour Party meme department would be. Well, if I was instigating a fascist coup, the first people against the wall would be the Labour meme department.
Yes.
That is so potent and dangerous to my fascistic regime. I could not tolerate their existence.
Or at least so infighting within the Labour division.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, undermine them. Yeah, exactly. They're too busy arguing with each other.
Yeah.
We have 13 minutes left and we need to do at least one more clip.
Okay.
Yeah? Roll the clip.
Please.
The fact is, his decisions have made our economy fragile, just as we face global trade wars. In November, I urged him to seize the draft US trade deal Conservatives negotiated. Instead, Mr. Speaker, he lost our most experienced trade negotiator. It's no wonder he can't get a tariff deal for British cars.
Right.
Ava.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Well, isn't fortuitously, I looked up the number of car manufacturers that have left or significantly scaled down during the Conservatives' successive administrations.
Okay.
So Badenoch is complaining that a number of car manufacturers we're not receiving, proper exports, imports from them, whatever. I can't remember what she was doing. Proper support, yeah. Proper support.
Protection from trade war.
She was sort of showing off that when she was business secretary, she was getting all of these subsidies and providing all these subsidies, and it was all wonderful. Which is interesting because Honda, the Swindon plant, shut down in 2021, and you'll remember that because you went to go and visit it.
I did, yeah.
Wow.
I did.
Ford in Bridgend, their plant closed down in 2020. Toyota hasn't completely left, but it has warned its UK operations could be at risk due to Brexit.
Damn.
Vauxhall, that has significantly scaled down. I think even the past couple of weeks did we find out that it was gone. Mini moved all of their electric car manufacturing, which, by the way, we provided huge subsidies to car manufacturers to keep them here. Okay.
No, I don't know. When you looked surprised at him when he said, I know.
I don't believe you.
Anyway, they're still making petrol cars here, but they've moved the electric to China.
But do you not feel like Brexit is the great unspoken word?
Oh no, we never talk about it.
Well, no, okay.
Yeah. It's like mental health.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're so brave.
No one's ever talked about it.
I'm a brave truth teller. Yeah, I drink pints of Madry, discuss men's mental health, and demand that we discuss Brexit further. Like key political project of people like Badenoch, and it really seriously damaged the car industry. But she's sort of just making out that it's the potential tariffs being imposed by the Trump administration. It's I don't know. It feels like.
But also that is
reality.
That is somehow Starmer's fault. Starmer's not even in the conversation. Starmer rings up the White House and they're like, "Who is this?" Did you read that? Apparently, he said to Trump, he offered a visit to Trump to sort of iron out the details of this deal that they were going to do, and he was like, "No."
That's cute. Yeah. Thank you. No.
Yeah.
I think he'll only come for the king, won't he?
He'll only. Oh yeah.
And that, to be fair, it's a plus point for keeping the royals. As it is, when we're on our knees, it's still a pretty good pawn, isn't it?
Yeah, we can
to be able to give them the Tower of London tour, the Paddington Bear London experience, as we sort of become like a sort of a historical tourist economy, basically.
But not down
having
in
a king as like a pawn, literally in a chess game, is becoming more and more handy.
It's alluring, yeah,
because people still remember the kings and queens of growing up and hearing those stories.
But do you know, not down on that seaside town where those two Marines, army boys
ripped the Paddington
Bear off
well, the Broken Britain.
Yeah,
I mean that's the real story Adolescence should have covered. Did you not see the judge saying?
I saw what the judge said.
It's completely the antithesis of the values of the bear. I mean, is there a more British story than RAF engineers ripping Paddington and then a judge saying this is not what we stand for? I mean, there's two types of Britain, aren't there? There's the Paddington Bear and there's those who want to seek to destroy everything that we've built, all of our values. I'm in a shocking wanton attack.
I'm pro the ripping up of the statue. I feel like that's sort of like the sort of, I don't know, sort of random craven acts of vandalism. I feel that's probably like closer to my politics than everything that Paddington Bear stands for.
Right.
Which I don't understand fully what it is that he stands for.
Really? Are you that kind of guy?
Yeah, I'm pretty punk.
Right.
What does he stand for?
Who? Paddington Bear?
Yeah. Well, marmalade.
I guess so. I mean,
being an immigrant.
He's an immigrant, yeah.
He's actually a refugee, I think.
He's a refugee
to be specific,
Peru.
Yeah, from Peru.
I guess it's, I think politeness is a big thing, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
And that's the sort of values of the bear, right? And it's incredibly rude to rip a man who's just quietly eating a marmalade sandwich off a bench.
It's most impolite. It's most impolite.
Squaddies, you know.
Yeah, call the RSPCA.
Yeah. Broken Britain.
Quite hot though that they managed to do that. They must have been quite strong.
Right, yeah, but if you watch it, they do fall over quite a lot while doing it. It's quite funny.
But that's because their foreskin wires were getting in the way.
Exactly. Well, they ended up
3
using
miles.
it as a sort of catapult.
They were able to figure out who they were because they just followed the wires back to the barracks and were like, oh, we've got the guys who did it. One more clip?
Please.
Maybe 2 more clips. Well, we'll get at least 1 more clip in.
I mean, you can cycle down to Broadcasting House. It'll take you 10 minutes.
Okay.
What are you doing? Are you going on there? What's your talking head thing that they're wheeling you out for?
Men's mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've put for or against. Who are you going to be speaking against?
I don't know who I don't know if they haven't told me who I'm going to be against.
Yeah.
Probably Ava, actually.
Yeah. It's amazing they have someone to talk
really
about men's
funny,
mental
isn't
health.
It's really funny. I'm a misandrist.
Yeah.
Let's just
pro-male suicide. What I hear.
I just said with a bit more commitment.
I will have to push that back because the people who don't follow through on suicide are women. So if we're talking about
That's
commitment,
the point you made.
That is the point I made.
Oh,
Are you taking the piss?
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're saying if women had more commitment.
No, that's what I said that got me in so much trouble.
Right.
That's why I got in so much trouble.
With a bit more commitment, women could get those numbers up.
I was the most disgusting person that ever lived for pointing out something that's true.
But the attempts,
They don't like the truth. They can't handle it.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah. But I need to see some of these attempts, like how much fits for attempts.
But do you know what? I actually felt bad for any woman who put their head above the pulpit to say, I tried to do it and I didn't do it. What she's talking about is true. I'm one of those stats.
Yeah.
The pylon they got.
Yeah.
They were like, well, you didn't really do it. Otherwise, you'd be dead.
Jumped off the bottom step.
Right. Okay.
Sorry.
Shall we do Ayub Khan?
Yeah,
the bins?
used a spoon on the wrists.
This Labour government has failed the British public at every turn. They have abandoned the WASPy women, leaving them without compensation they deserve. They have turned their backs on pensioners by failing to support the winter fuel allowance. They have let down children by keeping a 2-child benefit cap in place, and they will inflict further hardship on the most vulnerable by slashing $5 billion from benefits. But perhaps the most immediate and visible failure, one that poses an immediate and direct health risk to the people of Birmingham, is the appalling financial mismanagement of Labour-run Birmingham City Council. After more than a decade of Labour control, their incompetence has led to mountains of uncollected rubbish piling up on every street, so vast that it can be seen from satellites orbiting space. It is nothing short of a disgrace and a damning indictment of Labour's inability to govern. Will the Prime Minister take urgent action to protect the public health and the people of Birmingham by immediately deploying the...
Order. We're meant to ask a quick question, otherwise no one's going. Prime Minister.
Well, I've said the situation in Birmingham Council is completely unacceptable, but he might want to tell his constituents that we've delivered 2 million extra appointments for the NHS, so waiting lists are coming coming down for his constituents. We've delivered the national living wage, a £1,400 increase, including for his constituents. We've got record investment into this country, growing the economy, including for his constituents.
Do you know when you've ever hosted an event and... Oh, you might not know that. I don't know. Anyway, some of us host events.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll get more of a statement than a question. That's sort of what happened there, right? Because he raised something which is very interesting, which is that there's...
Very important, yeah.
...a huge bin strike in Birmingham. It's been going on for weeks.
Right.
Laura, our political correspondent, went up there to cover it a couple of weeks ago, and it's a great piece, and you can go and watch it on the PoliticsJOE YouTube. It's still ongoing, and there's no end in sight. There's sort of walls of rubbish everywhere.
Right.
Stinky.
It'd be funny if she wasn't in the part of Birmingham that was having the bin strike.
This is just Birmingham. Yeah. Villa. All around Villa Park.
No, I do actually like Birmingham.
I quite liked his double-breasted suit. I know it's separate, and we'll come to your point. And he was just kind of on a sort of inner monologue, wasn't he? Except it wasn't, because it was written down. He was just reading off a piece of paper.
But you're not, it's meant to be a question. It's actually rather selfish because there's only half an hour allotted to PMQs. So to think that you would be able to take up more time. Actually, do you know what? You might as well, because there were a lot of planted questions today. We've skipped over those for your benefit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But there were a number of Labour MPs who stood up to say, does the Prime Minister agree with me that, we're so fantastic for this country and there's rainbows shining out my arse?
Right.
Which was a tough listen.
They're not really questions, yeah.
No.
They do that a lot, though, don't they? I mean,
It's a Cameron thing.
Is it that unusual, do you think, because the Tories did it, didn't they? Labour are doing it as well.
You've been watching PMQs. How long have you guys been watching PMQs?
Far too long, man.
So who are your goats to the house then? Who got nasty with it the best?
It was Stephen Flynn was always something to behold. He was really something to look forward to. But Dave Dugan now is quite good. So Dave Dugan is about 7 foot tall.
Right.
And he's from the SNP. And there was one week where he shouted at Starmer, and Starmer flinched.
Of course.
He actually went...
That's
who are your fucking...
Do you remember? I will. Yeah. The people who make it clap, who throw it back in
the
chamber.
Yeah.
There was, but Jesse Ventura. Do you remember Jesse Ventura, the WWE wrestler, when he had a sort of, was it a gubernatorial race or something, and he was Republican, and he like walked down his Democratic opponent during a debate. He like sort of made out like it was a WWE, and he started going for him, and the guy flinched. And it was like, I'm a WWE, it's not real, but the race was over right at that point. Slightly more American than here, but I do think if you flinch, it's like the sketch we watched from
As a Man
Leave the other day, yeah, where if you flick the water bottle and you flinch, the game is over.
As a man,
like you're done. It's game over. You've lost political credibility.
I wouldn't want to comment on that.
No, yeah, obviously, but if you make a woman flinch, I don't think it's like, well, she, I don't think that carries the same sort of thing.
Well, in my bid,
if Jesse Ventura went like that, and I don't think that's her done.
Yeah, no, I think yeah. Okay. Who did I like? I quite like Ken Clarke. I thought he was good. Yeah. Father of the house.
Yeah.
Nicholas Soames used to be quite good value.
Yeah, he was.
What do you think of this new speaker? He gets a little bit pleased with himself sometimes.
Yeah, mild-mannered. He's no Burko.
Yeah. Have you seen Burko on US Traitors?
No, I haven't watched it.
It is absolutely extraordinary. They get such big names on the celebrity one. There's the boxer Deontay Wilder.
Oh yeah.
There as well. You think, this is going to be funny. You never get used to Burko being there, and he never fits in. At every point, it's completely jarring. At every single point. And he's so clearly realised... It's not even like he's funny or like they get what he wants. Like they once forced him, but clearly producers told him to say order once. But he's completely... They have no idea how to deal with him. And it's absolutely brilliant.
It's awful because that is his bit, but you don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
His catchphrase.
Yeah.
It's tough. You become defined by your catchphrase. You got one bit.
He was the most important person at one point, wasn't he? Sort of, he was making...
Yeah.
He alone stood against the great unspoken Brexit.
But I guess the Hancock I'm a Celeb, that seems like a watershed moment where it's sort of broken down the door of like people in sort of mainstream politics being able to go...
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it.
Go on, here we go.
Michael Fabricant is going to be on...
I can guess.
What's Fabricant doing?
Celebrity Big Brother.
Is he?
Yeah. You know him with the wig? Well, we don't know if it's a wig. He looks like Boris Johnson, but it's not.
Oh, yeah. But this is going to happen more and more.
Lembit Opic?
Yes, I mean, that was once again, Lib Dems is not really...
No, that was
true.
that was
So he went out with
extraordinary.
one of the cheeky girls,
He went
right?
out with one of the cheeky girls, yeah. And you know, he's a proper Puritan. He's like, he doesn't believe in abortion, and he's like...
He doesn't like cheeky girls.
He's just a cheeky boy,
Yeah.
An abortion is
So
a
he's
cheeky...
pulling out.
issue. Yeah,
It's
very cheeky issue.
That's a cheeky girls that get abortions.
What a podcast this has been. We're at time. We have to finish.
Oh, yeah, we do. You've gone 3.5 minutes over.
I know.
What time do you have to be there if you're not going on air till 4?
No, I have other meetings that I need to attend.
What meeting have you got to be to that's more...
Nothing is more important than this.
No.
Horatio, nothing is more important than you.
Thank you so much.
And I would say if you would both like to continue, I can get up and leave and you can carry on.
Yeah.
We could do one more clip.
We could do one more.
You want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? All right. Horatio, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ollie.
Lovely to share
Lovely
the
to see you
podcast
again.
with
Come
you.
in to pad it out.
And by the way, your episode of Invest Internet is probably our favourite. Why are you laughing?
Sorry.
This
It's
is great.
genuinely-
This
it's
is great.
genuinely.
He didn't say that to me.
Did he not?
No.
What did you ask him? No.
Was I your favourite?
No, that's the one where like some of the best clips come from that.
Yeah, I bet it
And the
was.
Fritzl joke, that's
Fritz-
one of my favourite jokes that I've written for the show.
You wrote that
and it was
one.
the one that Jeremy Clarkson then
Yeah.
wrote a whole op-ed about how he thought British comedy was dead until he saw that and realised maybe. So
I remember
then
the
I
column.
regretted writing the joke. It's not really the endorsement you want.
A man with a shovel and a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was it was a pleasure. I enjoyed doing that show. I'm glad it was one of your favourites.
Yeah.
And there were no repercussions. And that's what was important.
Absolutely no.
Hey, look.
No repercussions.
Hey,
Look,
take the rough with the smooth, eh?
live by the sword, die by the sword.
Exactly. Come on, that's the game we're in. You know this better than anyone.
Absolutely. I am so excited to watch how the rest of this goes.
Yes.
Really excited.
Yeah, good.
I don't mind ending it here. I don't feel very
No, I
well.
think I should carry on.
No, we can leave it.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to leave it?
No, it's up. I'm up either way.
Yeah, come on.
Let's go. Come on.
KKR bought a 25% stake in Northumbrian Water. Since then, people across the North East have seen their water bills soar, whilst in last year alone, Northumbrian Water has dumped nearly 1 million tonnes of raw sewage into Durham's Whitburn Coast Conservation Area. KKR are now poised to buy into Thames Water because ministers have ruled out a special administration regime. Can the Prime Minister guarantee that Thames Water will not be allowed to repeat the same trick of putting up bills and dumping raw sewage at the same time? They allowed it, he shouldn't.
Great. So that's Ed Davey there rallying against sewage being dumped in rivers.
Well, the water thing, I obviously don't know. I'm not across the detail on it, but from the outside, the water thing, it feels like I must be missing something because it seems almost cartoonish levels of evil.
To dump the sewage into the water.
It just of like unethical capitalism. It feels like you read headlines and it's like there must be something else going on where these sort of like Mr. Burns-esque villains.
Well, do you know, it's interesting because Ofwat were on the broadcast round on Monday. You know, Ofwat is the regulator. It decides whether the prices of how much we pay for water is going to go up or whether the price cap will be lifted or not. And he was defending the water companies having to put their prices up.
Right.
He was saying that there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built and, you know, that sort of thing, and that's why there's still sewage dumping. But these water companies...
Isn't that tax infrastructure?
Well, this is the problem with the privatisation.
Yeah.
Is it's so mixed. It's kind of like the rails as well.
Yes.
So do you know, like the rails are part owned by the taxpayer, part owned by a private company?
Yeah.
It's sort of like that with the water.
But a lot of it's built by tax infrastructure, though, isn't it?
Originally, it would have been built by the taxpayer.
Or
yeah.
in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even that long ago, really.
Right.
If you know, when you think about it.
I guess so.
When did we have the first toilet? I think it was like 1890 or something, wasn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, I
When
think
did we
so.
have a
Around then,
flushable
it's a
toilet?
Scottish inventor, and I have a theory that if you're a country that invents something, you will be doomed to have a bad version of it in 100 years because you do not approach it with an innovative mindset.
Why?
We invented trains. We have bad trains, compared to other similar economies. Because I feel then you rest on your laurels. In Edinburgh, pretty bad toilets, bad sewage, bad flushing.
Is that because the city's just oversubscribed when you're there?
No, it's because of it's Victorian plumbing.
Okay. And you're not a fan of that?
No, it's a funny thing that when people invent stuff, they often become bad at doing it.
Because they lack inspiration to develop it? They lack
inspiration. Someone comes at it, we invented football, we're not good at football.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Is there like a really egregious version of that? Is there an egregious example of that?
Trains and toilets are the ones that came to my mind first. I don't know if there's...
Because I was thinking sort of like slavery.
Right.
We were,
I guess, we wouldn't say we maybe invented transatlantic slavery.
And then we
became abolitionists, so I guess we got very bad at it. I guess you could say. Yeah, I guess that would be one. Yeah. I do a history podcast, by the way. For more insights, please do listen.
You had one of the most outrageous lines I've ever heard.
What?
It actually made me choke.
Right, okay. Yeah.
It was about Chairman Mao.
What? Yeah.
You were talking about I think it was your favourite dictator?
Yeah.
Best dictator?
He was up there. And I just think he gets missed from the GOAT conversations quite a lot.
And you said in terms of numbers.
Yeah, he's numbers guy.
Yeah, and I was in Sainsbury's listening to that, and I actually had to put down what I'd picked up because I was so shocked.
I guess it's more. You could argue he's stat padded a bit because he played in a weaker league.
A weaker league?
Yeah, like football players, it's like Pele got like so many goals, but that's mainly because he was playing like exhibition matches near the end.
Football? Do they play that in leagues?
Yeah.
I thought they played in teams.
No, so that he'd go to like America and it would be like a lower standard, so you can sort of stat pad. And so with Mao, it's unclear.
So what team was he in?
Mao?
Yeah.
The Chinese Communist Party, I'd say.
Are they still playing now?
I guess so. Yeah, no.
Is that like the Premier League?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it's because his regime led to 55 million people dying, which is kind of worse than
probably
Hitler's.
About the number of people who watch the Premier League.
Yeah, I guess so.
Think about how high the viewership would be if that hadn't happened.
Yeah. I think it's higher, the Premier League.
Did you have anything you'd like to say about Prime Minister's questions? Do you think that you'll be watching it again anytime soon?
Not at the moment. There's nothing to like sort of... Yeah, there's nothing that's going to draw me to it, I think, yet. There's nothing exciting particularly for me yet. So not yet. Maybe. Maybe something better comes along. In
terms of history of Prime Ministers, how do you think that Keir Starmer is faring?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've weirdly... Because obviously when he came through after Corbyn and just had no ideas, which I guess he still doesn't, I was very anti-Starmer, very, very anti-Starmer. And it just felt like we were just going right back to square one. Weirdly, I guess because everyone hates him so much, my natural thing is to try and,
give him a chance.
I don't know. It's just like, yeah. So I don't know where he'll stand. It is tough when every single Prime Minister no one likes. It is interesting how you do it historically. And I think that's maybe something we have to look at ourselves as a country. A friend of mine has a great stand-up, James Forbes, Donald McCann, has this great bit he's been doing where he gives he lists basically the last 15 British Prime Ministers to see if there's a cheer or a boo.
Oh, really?
And it's all boos, pretty much. Until it picks up a little bit for Gordon Brown. Yeah. But I remember when Gordon Brown, his one term, I remember how much everyone hated him, hence he got elected. So
but
it's funny.
I think he was subject to bad press.
Yeah, sure, but now we do because of what we've had.
I love Gordon Brown.
But will people be saying that about Keir Starmer in 10 years' time? Is my point, I guess. And if the British public, he's doing this in the O2, right? Because he was opening for Shane Gillis, right? So that's it was really quite interesting, kind of a bit of political fucking census. There's 16,000.
Sell out the O2.
Shane Gillis does, and he was
hell.
opening. And there was a small room for him because he's been doing American. It's
Does that
4,000
sound
smaller.
rude? It just sounds extraordinary to me that a comedian would be in that kind of environment.
It's crazy. Yeah. I think it's not really built for an arena because it's not really a show. It's better in an intimate venue. But he would say all these prime ministers and there'd always be boos, and it was just it was interesting just collectively everyone hating all of the leaders that we've elected.
I wonder who he starts with.
Who are the prime ministers that you love, post-war British prime ministers?
Probably Attlee.
Attlee, that's the one we all go for. Brilliant.
Did
NHS.
cheer Attlee.
There'll be some people talking about his colonial stuff, obviously, but it's he's who everyone goes for. one-term Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, it depends what the parameters of the question are, because if it's like a book that I'll read or a documentary I'll watch, if that's what you mean by favourite, then I am going to watch something about Thatcher.
Because it's the most interesting.
I think she was pretty interesting.
I completely agree. I also think if you take out the politics, because it's probably the most emotive people get, is Thatcher. Blair's probably maybe a second, actually. But if you talk about political talent, completely amoral, completely apolitical, just talent and ability as a politician, it's got to go Thatcher, Blair, and then I don't know who would be next. You could maybe argue Wilson, but that was pretty disastrous till the end. I was going to say one of my favourites was Wilson. Yeah.
But he wasn't a particularly good communicator.
No, and he was in such a bizarre psychosexual relationship with his secretary, was it? There's an amazing episode of The Rest is History on the year 1974 being the worst year in British political history. And that's when... Because Wilson won 4 or 5 elections, but it was because there were so many. And he didn't think he was going to win at all. And then his secretary, who had this... I forgot what her name is. She would he was basically kind of almost cuckolded by her, even though he was sort of cheating on his wife with her. Like she would shout, "Wilson, here now!" Like in Downing Street, and he would just come after he won. I think his last election, she organised. There was an election party, as there often are when you win, right? And she told everyone a different location, to punish Wilson. Right.
Was it kink or?
There was something going on there.
Because John Major and Edwina Currie, they had something like that going on.
John Major's getting everyone's now having quite a glow up about John Major.
Oh, but he's a good-looking man.
Right. But people are saying he's like a good guy, and they're looking back at him quite. As far as people looking back on prime ministers, John Major seems to come across quite well.
Do you know what? I made a discovery about him a few years ago.
Go on.
Coincidentally, this was by accident. He legalised anal.
Really?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's the act of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess having that on your Wikipedia page, like when Cameron legalised gay marriage, it's more just where the Overton window shifted to, right? He didn't campaign on
Backwards it shifted.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it did. But I mean, yeah. He wasn't like a passionate lover of anal.
But how do you know that?
I don't know that. I'm assuming that it just, because it was the 90s, culturally reached the point where it seemed archaic to not legalise anal. He wasn't sort of... It definitely wasn't a one-issue politician. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming in.
I've got a tour show that
I was actually about to tee you up, but yeah.
Sorry, please tee me up.
No, you go ahead.
I'm doing my my hour Return of the Space Cowboy stand-up show the whole month of May. All my tickets links will probably be in the bio, I assume.
Is that the one that you did at Fringe?
That is. It's got a lot of stuff added, but that's the one you saw.
I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's sort of, I guess it's about young people and trying to find something to believe in, and what it means to kind of grow up with the internet and the strangeness of it all, I guess. But I'd love to see you guys there. And
do you want to mention that you're going to be at... This feels very parasocial, but I saw it just before I came here. You're at Top Secret this Sunday.
I am at Top Secret this Sunday. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm doing a tour warm-up of that show. So it'll be basically half-price tickets, but I will be experimenting.
What about the other stuff you're doing? About you put on a night the other week.
Yes, that's
the
last one of those for now until I find a venue. So it's not another one of those. But I do 2 podcasts: Finn vs. History with Finn Taylor, who's just been on, and Boys Gone Wild with my old school friend Andrew.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Finn vs. History too. But
Boys Gone Wild's more for the girls.
Well, I'm a misandress.
Exactly, and that's why you love it.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Cheers.